Peace, peace, peace. What's good? What's good? What's good? This is your boy Solarmind. I am here live. So when you come in the building, hit the like button. Hit the like button when you come in the building. I am simul streaming. So shout out to the followers and supporters of Investing Out the Blue. All right. We got some things that we're going to get into real quick. So I just want to see real quick just how is it looking on. All right. Seeing how the thumbnails look on the respective channels. All right, so my channel is looking like okay. Let's see. See if we could do what we could do about that there. See if we could change that thumbnail real quick. See if we change that thumbnail. I got the struggling thumbnail up there real quick. There you go. There you go. All right, what's going on, people? This is your boy Solarmind. I'm here live. We're going to get into a couple of interesting things here on the channel. So, yeah, Akmalak, what's going on? What's going on? Yeah. He said God is in control. Okay, yes, God is in control, but we're talking about, you know, uh, the people who dictate the lives, the humans who dictate the lives on this planet we call Earth, right? And the United States in particular. We're going to get into some information. We're going to get into some information today. We're going to break down a couple of things for the people. Yes, we are. We're going to do that. Shalom. You live in a very interesting time at this juncture. You know, we call it the latter days from a religious perspective. You know, who controls the United States? A lot of y'all think voting is going to solve the problems for the black man and the black woman. Unfortunately, we have been voting for some time now, and we have not been getting the results that we feel as though we deserve. How are things set in place? A lot of people have these conspiracy theories. They have made the term conspiracy theory into sort of a term only kooks use. Only the people who are crazy use these terms. You know, see, Akmalak, the thing is, right? In that same Bible, it talks about the manifestation of the Antichrist and how he's going to, you know, pretty much control the planet. So you're talking about the mark of the beast, right? If you're talking about the mark of the beast, right, that no man could buy nor sell unless he has the number, unless he has the mark of the beast. And the mark of the beast is the number of a man, and the number is 666, right? So it's telling you at the same time that they're going to be an evil force on a planet that is going to be dictating the lives of the masses. See, this is what we're talking about today. We're talking about the evil forces that dictate the lives of the masses. But before we do so, you know what? The title is kind of misrepresented because I want to, if I could actually edit the title. So somewhat you're right. You're somewhat right because I want the title to be Who Controls the United States, not the world. United States. United States. Here you go. Booyah. All right. So, with that being said, what I want to do is I want to first get into I want to first get into the political spectrum, the mainstream political spectrum, because you have two forms of politics. You have I call it the TMZ politics, the TMZ version of politics. What is the TMZ version of politics? I'm going to give you an example of the I'm going to give you an example of the TMZ version of politics, right? And that would consist of what you see on the mainstream media channels. Do know that all the mainstream media channels are bought and paid for by corporations, which is attached to governments, which is attached to secret groups of individuals who has a political agenda to control the masses, right? So that would be the TMZ version of politics. I would then go into what I call the real politics, the global oligarchy, the designers, the manufacturers of this current system that we live in, why they created it, how they created it, and what would be the overall agenda of them constructing such a tyrannical society, right? So my example is going to be today. My example is going to be something that you all may have seen. That was the discussion that the black journalists, there's three black women, the black journalists had with Donald Trump, right? We're going to get into that, and we're going to do it in a sort of a reactionary mode, and then we're going to build on from that. See, the problem with black people today, right? We want to fit in so much with the system. We want to be a part of a system so bad because America is like they like the popular kids in the school. A lot of people like to use that analogy. We want to be down with America because America has such great prestige the world over. And yes, black people have contributed to its rapid success. The reason why it exploded in such a rapid fashion is because of the fact that they exploited a group of people that we are connected with, our lineage, whether you believe that we're Israelites or Africans. We're not going to get into that today. But yes, we were the exploited class that helped build this wicked empire, right? But see, this is the thing, right? In the world game of imperial chess that is being played, we have become so comfortable within the system that the black people are no longer in America seeking power. We're no longer seeking um, the ability to control our own destinies. We rely on the system that is controlled by, i.e., white folks, to provide us with education and just general resources, as far as our food, even all the way down to the policing, which is also an issue. And we complain when we see that we just get pretty much the basic package. Our educational system is just the standard educational system. It's nothing that's geared specifically to cater to the needs and the wants of black people. Same thing in all the other areas. When they're going into the food, we get just the basic or really subpar food in. We have the food deserts, and we don't get the same quality of food as what people in other areas get. And if it is accessible to us, it's more expensive, right? So we complain about these things, and what we do is we hold America to the standard of, well, we was here from the beginning and we helped build the country and we're Americans too. So what do you think that the power structure is doing as a result of that? What the power structure is doing is that they can't argue with that point because that's just a known fact. It's a known fact that you was an exploited class. It was a known fact that they enslaved you and they took you against your will into these hells of America to build this wicked empire. So they know that. But what they will do is say, well, how can we get rid of these people? Because we exploited them, we used them, all those things are true. So how do we now get rid of them now that we are parlayed this system into a global empire? How do we get rid of these people? And it was many of theories and many of ways that they, suggested that they would get rid of us. And one of the things was Lowering the Population. Lowering the Population is a good book, once again, by Gunnar Myrdal, called The Negro Problem in Modern Democracy. And pretty much this Norwegian sociologist, Gunnar Myrdal was his name. He went around the United States and he asked every different group or class of white America, well, would this country be better with or without Black people? Most of them agreed that it would be better without Black people in it. So then the question was, well, how can we lower the population, without them knowing? This was written in the 1940s. How can we lower the Black population without them really knowing? A very interesting thing that I found to be interesting is the population. Every time they say, when they talk about the Black population, we are 12 or 13%. They said we're 12% of the population. And I was always thinking like, damn, I heard that for the last 20 years. Ever since I was in school, we was always 13 or 12% of the population. So it never changed. It never went up to 15. It never, went up to 20. It never went down to 10 or 9%. And, now I'm beginning to believe that they are not telling the truth about the population in America. Something's going on with that. The census. But with that being said, we're going to bring it back home to the politics, right? The politics. So our first example of the TMZ version of the politics will be what you see here with the Black journalist interviewing Donald Trump, right? What's going on, Blue? Ben Yah. I don't want to try to pronounce that first name right there. But what's going on, Ben Yah? Akmalak is in the building. What's going on? Let's get it.
Also, to help voters understand the choices that they face in a
Okay.
This discussion continues a decades-long tradition during election years of inviting journalists to discuss the policies and their impact with the candidates who are running for
What's going on, Gynocracy? Gynocracy is in the building.
President, and the impact of those policies, especially in Black communities. Former Presidents George W. Bush, Barack Obama, and Bill Clinton have attended the NABJ conventions either as presidents or as presidential candidates in past years. NABJ is currently in conversation with Vice President Kamala Harris's team to schedule a Q&A either in person or virtually in September. As journalists, we use opportunities like these both to inform our reporting, but also to help voters understand the choices that they face in a consequential and historic election year. NABJ has partnered with PolitiFact to fact-check this conversation in real time. You can access that feed on social media using the hashtag NABJFactCheck. Again, the hashtag is NABJFactCheck. We have a lot to get to, and we do not want to waste any time, so let's bring out the former President of the United States, the Republican nominee for President, former President Donald Trump.
Now, who chose it?
Hi, Mr. Trump. Rachel Scott, BBC. Thank you.
How are you? How are you?
Yo, who the hell chose that? Who the hell chose that music? Who the hell chose that music? Yo.
Mr. President, we so appreciate you giving us an hour of your time. I want to start by addressing the elephant in the room, sir. A lot of people did not think it was appropriate for you to be here today. You have pushed false claims about some of your rivals, from Nikki Haley to former President Barack Obama, saying that they were not born in the United States, which is not true. You have told 4 congresswomen of color who were American citizens to go back to where they came from. You have used words like animal and rabid to describe black district attorneys. You've attacked black journalists, calling them a loser, saying the questions that they ask are, quote, stupid and racist. You've had dinner with a white supremacist at your Mar-a-Lago resort. So my question, sir, now that you are asking black supporters to vote for you, why should black voters trust you after you have used language like that?
Well, first of all, I don't think I've ever been asked a question so in such a horrible manner. First question. You don't even say, hello, how are you? Are you with ABC? Because I think they're a fake news network, a terrible network. And I think it's disgraceful that I came here in good spirit. I love the black population of this country. I've done so much for the black population of this country, including employment, including opportunity zones with Senator Tim Scott of South Carolina, which is one of the greatest programs ever for black workers and black entrepreneurs. I've done so much, and and I say this, historically black colleges and universities were out of money. They were stone cold broke, and I saved them, and I gave them long-term financing, and nobody else was doing it. I think it's a very rude introduction. I don't know exactly why you would do something like that. And let me go a step further. I was invited here, and I was told my opponent, whether it was Biden or Kamala, I was told my opponent was going to be here. It turned out my opponent isn't here. You invited me under false pretense. And then you said, you can't do it with Zoom. Well, where's Zoom? She's going to do it with Zoom, and she's not coming. And then you were half an hour late. Just so we understand, I have too much respect for you to be late. They couldn't get their equipment working or something was wrong.
Mr. President, I would love if you can answer the question on your rhetoric and why you believe
I have
that
answered the
black voters should
question.
trust you with another 4
I have
years.
been the best president for the black population since Abraham Lincoln. That's my answer.
Better than President Johnson,
That's my
who signed the
answer.
Voting Rights Act?
And for you to start off a question and answer period, especially when you're 35 minutes late because you couldn't get your equipment to work, in such a hostile manner, I think it's a disgrace.
Let me just ask a follow-up, sir, and then we'll move on to other questions here.
Yeah, professionalism, the professionalism, and this is how, with no substance. Yeah, they're very, I mean, this is like what I'm talking about with the TMZ. This doesn't mean, like, what are they talking about right now? Now, I know a lot of people that's in politics. What you mean? She's talking about, Donald Trump referring to black people as rabbits. And from a political standpoint, who cares about any of the things that they were talking about? Any of the things that she initiated the conversation with? Because, for one, and this is, once again, I got to say this for, people that don't understand. This is not me supporting Donald Trump. But what is she talking about? Like, she's even like, this is supposed to be a conversation with a potential president, right? The conversation shouldn't be trying to get a got you moment with some of the things that the person said. She's speaking in defense of the Democratic Party. That's the biggest mistake right there. So you're already showing that you're already biased towards a Democrat, for the Democratic Party on how you're wording your questions. So that's problem number one. What they should have been doing was they should have been, asking them, what are you going to provide Black people with? What are you going to do for Black people? Get into some of the stuff that he may have said that he was going to provide for Black people and hold them to those standards, or make him publicly say that he's going to do X, Y, and Z. That's not what they're doing. What they're doing is more so trying to get a gotcha moment on Donald Trump. So we're going to her whole soliloquy once again when she's reading off these points that she thinks she's making towards Donald Trump, because you don't really want to play that game with Donald Trump anyway, because he's better at most with this type of thing. And that's what you could see. Like, he made him look stupid because he just pointed out how unorganized they were, and how this is almost like a setup interview, because Kamala didn't even show up, because she knows she don't have to show up because they are pro-Democrats, right? So
I think it was appropriate for you to be here today. You have pushed false claims about some of your rivals, from Nikki Haley to former President Barack Obama, saying that they were not born in the United States.
Who cares? Who cares about that? Why should we be caring about that at this point in time? I mean, we know that these politicians say just about anything. These politicians say just about anything, whether it's true or not. Who cares about that? And this is why I call this the TMZ version of politics. How is that affecting my life, whether he was born in Hawaii or not? Oh yeah, well, since he wasn't a national born, citizen, that he couldn't run for president. Who cares about that? I don't give a shit about that. I could care two damns about whether he was born in Albuquerque or in or New Mexico. I don't give a damn. Why is that being brought up in this light? Okay, this person has won the Republican nomination. Whether you like it or not, this is going to be a person that potentially is going to be a president of the United States. Why are you having these type of discussions with them? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, who cares? I don't care about whether, I don't care where he was born at.
Is not true. You have told 4 congresswomen of color who were American citizens to go back to where they came from. You have used words like animal and rabid to describe Black district attorneys. You've attacked Black journalists, calling them a loser, saying
yeah, see, it's like you clear. I mean, and it's not even a well-crafted attack. It's not even like, you know what I'm saying? You're clearly showing your hand. And this is the thing, right? So it makes them look just as fake as Donald Trump, is the point that I'm making. We know that Donald Trump is for the power structure. No different than, Kamala Harris. But you should be playing politics at this point. Well, Black people should, they see, like, in order for us to play politics this way, in this realm properly, we have to understand first the political spectrum. That, these people, that this politics is right here is for the masses, right? So you can actually get something out of this politics, this form of politics, if you hold them to that, and if your vote is organized. Because if your vote is organized and you're saying that, well, Black people are looking for X, Y, and Z, I will be coming to him with issues that I want to be solved within the Black communities. But then it's complex, because you have this Black boule, right, that has sold them into believing that they control the Black vote. It's changed since the Obama administration. Because remember back when things used to happen, you'll see like Al Sharpton or Jesse Jackson come out to quiet the masses and prevent them from rioting and all that type of stuff. I think it was the Mike Brown police shooting when Al Sharpton, he came out, to quiet the masses, and they began to, boo him. Like, get out of here. We tired of this. You know what I'm saying? And once they did that, the power structure knew that they had to readjust their strategy. So now it's this thing where now they're using celebrities. This is where you get the Steve Harveys, he's one of the main people that they're using now to promote, or I guess push black people. D.L. Hughley is another one they use to, I guess, sway the masses of black people to once again vote Democrat. So they now go into the airways with their propaganda to convince black people once again to vote Democrat. So now you have this whole situation going on where it's like you're having a discussion with this president and you're not asking about any or demanding anything. You're relegated now to making talking points that who cares? I don't care. Like you think that there was no racist president? You think that there was no racist president here in America ever? He's just another one of those racist presidents, in my opinion. He's no different than I believe Bill Clinton was a damn racist. I believe that both of the Bushes was a racist. Jimmy Carter, all of them was racist to me. Which president wasn't a racist should be the question. So you calling these things out. Why? What are you getting out of that? The only logical conclusion I could come up with is that you're just working with the Democratic Party and you're trying to make them look a certain type of way just to get black people once again to vote Democrat. That's why I call it the TMZ version of politics. It's not really designed to help anything. It's just like a tool within the system to make the world think that black people are organized. The Black Journalist, the National Association of Black Journalists. It's a bunch of bull crap. There's no organization. They're sitting up there like, looking sophisticated, and they got all the outward tools. They're very professional in how they're doing stuff, but there's no substance behind it. So the thing with Donald Trump, and this is why he was gaining a lot of popularity, is because he's a straight shooter. He's not going to play those games. And she's seen that firsthand. You're not going to play these games with Donald Trump. And once again, this is not a support of Donald Trump. We know he's wicked. He's catering to a demographic of disgruntled white Americans, disgruntled racist white Americans. We know that. But the Democrats is no better.
The questions that they ask are, quote, stupid and racist. You've had dinner with a white supremacist at your Mar-a-Lago resort. So my question, sir, now that you are asking black supporters to vote for you, why should black voters trust you after you have used language like that?
Well, first of all, I don't think I've ever been asked a question in such a horrible manner. First question. You don't even say, hello, how are you?
And you see, right? You see the response from the audience. America is changing. Black people need to wake up. See, the masses are tired of these talking points. They're tired of this little game that's being played on the part of Black America. And we get this from these black, bourgeoisie. And this goes back to that civil rights movement. It's been a culture that developed in America amongst black people. Since we gained certain things, certain bills was passed during the civil rights movement. And it was based off of the fact that we did things from a nonviolent standpoint. So based off that, we pretty much bowed down to the system and said, look, we don't want to fight. We don't want to fight. Is there some way that you can allow certain privileges to exist within a system that you control? People hate it. People hate to hear it that way, but that's just the truth. The civil rights movement pretty much was a display of a group of people surrendering to the very people that enslaved them, saying, look, we don't want no trouble. We're not trying to fight. We're trying to coexist. We're trying to coexist. Just give us certain privilege. Black people would be comfortable. Black people would be comfortable in this system if there was no police brutality. There was no discrimination as far as with the vote. And people say, well, yeah, why wouldn't we? Yeah, of course, this is what we want. If there was no police brutality, if you could just freely apply for a job, if there was no forms of systemic racism, if you could just go and get a loan just like a white person could get a loan, Black people will be comfortable within this society. We will not be trying to seek any form of power. And that's a problem, because it's a problem because if they wanted to, if white people wanted to, they could make this into Jim Crow again, because you really have no power to stop them. That should be a problem for a group of people, especially when the other group of people that have that power have demonstrated that before. They show you that they would go there if the situation was necessary for it to go there. They would go there. They have shown you historically that, yeah, if we have to revamp this Ku Klux Klan thing again, they could. What group of Black people is able to stop them? That should be a problem. That in itself should be a problem. And this is why we have to put ourselves in a position where we have forms of power. What is going to defend you? Like look at our communities, for example. Our children, teenagers, and young adults terrorizes just about every inner city community across the United States. And there's not one Black man doing a thing about it. And then it'd be some people saying, well, yeah, you got organizations. Yeah, you got organizations, these nonprofit organizations, and things that they're cool. No, that's not what I'm talking about. That should be something that is the number one problem in the Black community. The number one problem in the Black community is Black on Black male violence, because it has a ripple effect on just the quality of the community, and it shows that there's no organization within the community, right? So that should be the number one priority, and we should not be asking the power structure to solve the problem, because they can't solve that problem. But what we should be asking for is for resources to solve the problem. But once again, the power structure benefits off of the dysfunction within the Black community. Don't you know that it costs more to house a person in prisons? It costs more to house an individual in a prison than it is to put them into the workforce. So they're willing to pay that little extra, right? And I could show the statistics of, per inmate and, So why would the power structure be willing to pay more for the Negro problem? The reason why is because the ends fit the means. It employs white folks. These industries, these prison industrial complexes employs groups of white people, once again, that are, part of this lower class of society, because lower class doesn't have a race. So you have this whole situation now going on. None of this is being talked about. She's worried about, oh yeah, well, you called the politician a rabbit, and didn't you say this racist thing here? And then weren't you in a meeting with a white supremacist group? And why are you? Who gives a shit about any of that? At this point in time, if you don't know that these people are racist, then you're clueless. If you don't know at this day and time that this power structure, and to be honest with you, Donald Trump would be the less racist of the racists, in my opinion. He'll be like, he's racist, but he's not as racist, in my opinion, as a Hillary Clinton. But anyway.
You with ABC, because I think they're a fake news network, a terrible network.
And it would take a white person to say that. Exposing the fake news. He kind of coined the phrase everybody knew, But if I was to say it, it would be conspiracy theory. Motherfucker ain't, believing what I'm talking about. But it takes him to say it for everybody to,
I think it's disgraceful that I came here in good spirit. I love the black population of this country. I've done so much for the black population of this country, including employment, including opportunity zones with Senator Tim Scott of South Carolina, which is one of the greatest programs ever for black workers and black entrepreneurs. I've done so much, and and I say this, historically black colleges and universities were out of money. They were stone cold broke, and I saved them, and I gave them long-term financing, and nobody else was doing it. I think it's a very rude introduction. I don't know exactly why you would do something like that. And let me go a step further. I was invited here, and I was told my opponent, whether it was Biden or Kamala, I was told my opponent was going to be here. It turned out my opponent isn't here. You invite.
Just real quick on that, because he pronounced her name wrong. She's adamant on it's almost annoying, and people sometimes are annoyed by that when people mispronounce their names. But let's go into that a little bit. See, her name is Kamala Harris, like a comma. She had her nieces go up there and show the proper way of pronouncing her name, Kamala Harris. So the way you tend to pronounce it is Kamala Harris, like Kamala Harris. So it's Kamala Harris, right? So the reason why I believe that she is adamant, or she's adamant on pronouncing her name correctly, because Kamala is an African name. Kamala is a Southeast Indian name. That's the main reason why I believe. And the reason why I believe that is because, and I should pull up the clip. In the 80s, no, that was the 90s. Kamala, yeah, with the Kamala the wrestler I think he was in the 90s though. Kamala Kamala wasn't no joke though. Once he hit you with the splash joint, it was over. Once Kamala hit you with the splash joint, he'd jump in and he splash on you. I ain't seen nobody get up. Hulk Hogan ain't even get up off of that joint. Hulk Hogan ain't even get up off the joint. Once Kamala hit you with the splash joint, ain't nobody get up off of that. But yes, that was the African wrestler named Kamala. So that's an African name. So that's why she don't really want to be known as Kamala. So it's Kamala. And if people didn't pick up on the energy in the room, you know, if people didn't pick up on the energy in the room, right? When she's having discussions with black people and they're asking about black things, you can see that she's annoyed. You could tell she's a little annoyed that she has to deal with it on that level, because she knows that they think that she is black, but she doesn't want to be identified as black. So that's annoying to her. Yeah, you know, you ever see like maybe like within the Latina community, you have, you know, some that don't like they're like a Sammy Sosa, right? He's clearly like black, but he don't want to be identified as black. And so if somebody was to see Sammy Sosa and call him black, he would be annoyed by that. You know, he would be annoyed by being called black. So it's kind of like that with her. She doesn't like being put into the category of being black. And obviously she's, in my opinion, she's not black. She says, you know, I mean, even though her father was, you know, her father was biracial, I believe. And her mother is East Indian. So, yeah. So she identifies more so with her East Indian side, which is cool, no problem. But that's why it's this thing with the name that she's so adamant on, because she's tired of black people trying to put her into the category of being black, and we tend to do that a lot. We even take a white person to make them black. You know what I'm saying? You know, a person that's clearly white would be like, yo, you black. From a cultural standpoint, like if they just, you know, they chilling and, you know, they kind of like accept some of our cultural norms and shit. They like a little bit of soul food and, oh, you black. We have a very accepting culture. We are very accepting. Yeah. She don't want to do that. She definitely do not want to take a DNA test. You know, that joint come up 65%. Yeah, there'd be a problem with that right there. But anyway.
Invited me under false pretense. And then you said, you can't do it with Zoom. Well, you know, where's Zoom? She's going to do it with Zoom, and she's not coming. And then you were half an hour late. Just so we understand, I have too much respect for you to be late. They couldn't get their equipment working, or something was wrong.
Mr. President, I would love if you can answer the question on your rhetoric and why you believe that black voters should trust you with another 4 years.
I have been the best president for the black population since Abraham Lincoln. That's my answer.
Better than President Johnson, who signed the Voting Rights Act?
And for you to start off a question and answer period, especially when you're 35 minutes late because you couldn't get your equipment to work, in such a hostile manner, I think it's a disgrace.
Let me just ask a follow-up, sir, and then we'll move on to other questions here. Some of your own supporters, including Republicans on Capitol Hill, have labeled Vice President Kamala Harris, who is the first black and Asian American woman to serve as vice president and be on a major party ticket, as a DEI hire. Is that acceptable language to you? And will you tell those Republicans and those supporters to stop it?
How do you define DEI? Go ahead.
Trump is crazy. Trump crazy. Trump is a wild boy for real. It's like, you know what I mean? Like, okay. I'm cool with I'm cool with saying this because I know that all this stuff is just a bunch of political bull crap that doesn't really mean anything. But Trump is funny as hell, man. Trump is funny as shit to me. You know, he gonna tell me something. He don't know what DEI mean, right? He don't know what DEI mean. So he really don't know what the hell she talking about. Diversity, equity, and inclusion, right? He doesn't know what that means. Now people say, well, he doesn't know. He don't know what it means based off of how he's saying, like, well, no. Yeah, go. Tell me about what that means. He don't know what the fuck she talking about. Listen to how he responds to what she said.
Republicans and those supporters to stop it.
How do you define DEI? Go ahead.
Yeah, how do you define DEI? It's self-explanatory. Diversity, equity, and inclusion, right? So he don't know what a DEI hire is. He don't know what that is. She's coming with a talking point that is going over his head, right? Don't know what the hell she's talking about. But once again, this is just to get a got you moment on a potential president. Why would you like if we believed in this political system, which I don't, do you think that this is a good strategy? Like, he could be the president of the United States. Why are you trying to attack him? You know what I'm saying? Would that be a good strategy in any other scenario? In any other scenario, would that be a good strategy, right? To attack a person who can potentially be the individual that could dictate certain outcomes with you as a minority existing within a country. Now, but see, we don't view politics that way. We view politics from the lens of a Democrat. So, from the lens of the Democrat, that is a perfect question, because we got to make him look bad because we want him to lose. Just totally different understanding and perception. And then the perception is based off a lack of historical knowledge. Black people shouldn't trust this system. We shouldn't be all willy-nilly and jump into one party and committed to one party. What in the history of the United States would make us make a decision like that? Oh, it said the Civil Rights Act and the voting. No, that's just an ends to get to your means. You got to have an overall agenda. You got to have a goal. You got to project. This goal has to be getting freedom, real freedom. Why don't Black people have an agenda? I'm talking about like a real agenda. That, okay, someday we don't want to be under the tutelage. We don't want to have to worry about. It should be an agenda, just basic. If you're going to even live in the United States, right? There should be an agenda where we're talking to our children that's going into these universities, that is becoming sociologists and psychologists and people that are economists and these financial gurus, whatever major that these kids are going into these universities, to acquire certain knowledges. It should be geared on a Black agenda. We don't have a Black agenda. There's no Black agenda. There's no agenda that say, well, yeah, once you learn about finance, you're going to, construct a financial plan on how to revitalize the Black community without having to worry about, this, the government to provide, because obviously they provide us with things that comes with certain standards that we have to abide by, which pretty much dilute what we're trying to do. and half of the things is accessible to other groups of people, right? So we need a financial plan. How are we going to construct a plan? Let's get the sociologists in here. Let's get into the psychologists and psychologists to assess the minds of Black people. Why are they so prone to self-hate? And those are major things. Why are Black men so argumentative with each other? Why can't they unite? Like that, this is major shit that fuck us up every time. The reason why the Nation of Islam didn't, it wasn't because of, there was something the matter with the organization within itself. It was the fact that Black men just can't, they get jealous of each other and they want to kill Malcolm and all types of crazy shit. Same thing with the Black Panther Party. It was a Black person that set up Fred Hampton, and there needs to be people that's actually studying that. Black people need to be studying that. Why? Why wouldn't you want to do that? What's the problem? That's really common sense. Oh, you just so you just trust this white man system so much. You trust this white man that you don't think that he's going to get like the ugly white man that he was back during the Jim Crow era, that he's not going to. You know what's keeping him from doing that? It ain't you. It ain't his morality. He just don't want to look bad to the rest of the world and shit. Just think about that. What's saving you, right? From him just being just like, okay, just like in one of these third world countries, we got these ruthless dictators that just gunning down the people that they don't mess with. What's preventing him from doing that is the fact that he has influence globally. And he has a global idea of constructing a planet under his moral system and his code of ethics and his way of life. So he wants to promote Americanism globally. It would just look bad that if he's just literally, doing a mass extermination campaign, just like Adolf Hitler in Nazi Germany. It would just look bad. That's the only thing that's really saving you. Are you comfortable with that? And this is not even geared to women. This is Black men. Are you comfortable with that? Just like this so happens, like if Russia and China and the United States, okay, you know what? I think it's about time that we, up the ante on this Black American thing. Because if they all agree to it, like no person is going to call it out and no person is going to try to capitalize off of it. What would save you? What would be the thing to save you? That means that you don't even control your own destiny. How can you be comfortable with that? That is real politics. Because everything trickles down from that. That's just a basic understanding of what would eventually evolve into, schooling. We will have to train our children in schools to be, to understand the system that they're living in and to better the way of life for Black people. Right? How do you better the life for Black people? Re-educate the youth. Get rid of this culture of promoting violence. Look, these are things that you can do. You know what I'm saying? Stop allowing other groups of people to capitalize off of your destruction. See, that takes organization. We literally listen to music, and I'm a victim of it as well. We literally listen to music, and I'm a victim of it as well, that talks about killing each other. No other group of people does that. What other groups of people is just, they listen to our music. I mean, even like, white people with the hard rock, the rock and roll shit, the crazy ga 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 and all that shit. It's not talking about killing each other. You know what I'm saying? What in the culture? See that is a real problem. Why? Because you see that the actual rap artists are having an impact on street politics. So much so that in a lot of scenarios with the drill rap, they're rapping about something that actually happened now. Within their lyrics, they're now talking about what they're going to do literally to somebody. This is not a top priority for Black people. Think about that. Think about how fake this conversation is in light of what the real problems are. Black children are more likely to be in learning disability classes than any other group of people. And you asking him about some meeting that he had with a white supremacist group? I wouldn't give a two damns about that shit. Why would I care about that? So this is what you got going on today. And that's why I call this the TMZ. The TMZ version of politics.
How do you define
diversity, equity, inclusion?
Okay, yeah, go ahead. Is that what your definition?
That is
give me a
literally
definition
the words.
then.
Woman to serve as vice president.
You don't know what the hell she's talking about. He said, okay, tell me what that means. He don't know what the hell you're talking about.
On a major party ticket as a DEI hire.
And it's just another talking point. Who cares? If he said it was a DEI hire, who cares? And then to make it just as crazy of a question, right? He don't even know what the hell you're talking about. He don't know what you're talking about. What is a DEI hire? First, you got to tell him what a DEI hire is. And he like, okay, well, she may be one. I don't know. Like, because he don't give a shit about that.
Is that acceptable language to you? And will you tell those Republicans and those supporters to stop it?
How do you define DEI? Go ahead. How do you define
diversity, equity, inclusion?
Okay, yeah, go ahead. Is that what your definition?
That is
give me a
literally
definition
the words
then. Would you give me a definition
DEI.
of that? Give me a definition.
Sir,
of
I'm
that.
asking you a question,
No,
a
you
very
have to
direct
define
question.
it. Define the.
You clearly see that he don't know what you're talking about. Ain't that crazy? That they're just in two different spectrums right now. And he's literally asking her, like, yo, okay, is that the difference? Because if I just say diversion and equity and inclusion, me knowing the definition of what that means, I would have a general understanding of it. But he's trying to understand, is the program really, is it a positive thing or is this something that you're making up? He don't know nothing about it. He don't know nothing about what you're talking about. You know what I'm saying? Is this just like a derogatory term or is this an actual program? Like, give me a definition of what exactly that is. You know what I'm saying? He don't know what you're talking about. And you relying, why are you having that conversation with him anyway? My conversation be like, look, we have issues within the inner city concerning, quality of housing. Are you willing to put a certain amount of money up for revitalization of housing to get the housings up to, you know, modern standards, because within the community, a lot of the houses was constructed in the mid 20th century. Is there any way that you could upgrade the houses to kind of fit, you know? I'll be saying shit like that. I don't want you to solve any social problems, nigga. Just is you willing to build a good building or a community center over here? You know what I'm saying? I don't want them educating us. I don't want them, you know, no, nigga. We need you know, we need 100 million to, you know, go into these inner cities and, you know, just reconstruct the pavements and, you know, build new playgrounds, nigga. Are you willing to do that? You know what I'm saying?
Define it for me if you
I just defined it, sir. Do you believe that Vice President Kamala Harris is only on the ticket because she is a black woman?
Well, I can say no. I think it's maybe a little bit different. So I've known her a long time indirectly, not directly very much. And she was always of Indian heritage, and she was only promoting Indian heritage. I didn't know she was black until a number of years ago when she happened to turn black, and now she wants to be known as black. So I don't know, is she Indian or is she black?
She has always
But you know
identified as a
what?
black woman.
I
She went to a
respect
historically
either
black
one.
college.
I respect.
Now you hear that? her response was she was always identified as black. She went to a historically black college. Well, just because you go to a historically black college doesn't mean that you're identifying as black. And it's on countless occasions where she identifies as a East Indian woman, which is okay. It shouldn't be a problem. That is not a problem. But once again, it's just this willingness to be included within this system. That shouldn't even, why? Who cares? I mean, to be honest with you, who cares? I don't care if Kamala's identify as East. She should define however she feels as though, because she has Irish in her, she has, you know, Jamaican or Caribbean. Her mother's East Indian. If she's just say, I want to identify myself as East Indian, okay, there shouldn't be a problem. Why are we trying to throw black on this woman? Yeah, it was funny as hell how he was saying black, right? but he pointed out once again, he's calling out the bullshit. And this is why you gotta like Donald Trump to a certain degree. Like, let's stop playing these games. We know dang on well she wasn't calling herself black until she became vice president. And that's just real talk, man. Let's stop playing this game. Why everything gotta be a lie? Why we gotta be comfortable with a lie all the time? Or something that just ain't true? They making you settle for lies. And then when you challenge the lie, like you're the person at fault. You're not allowed to say that. You know what I'm saying? You're not allowed to say what she actually did. Crazy. This is crazy. You know what I'm saying? That's how you know all this is not real. It's all fake. You can't even say what she actually did. Yeah, she literally didn't start calling herself black until she became vice president. But just think about it from this standpoint. How do you think that the people, the East Indian people feel? This is how crazy is it? Like it's a slap in the face of East Indian people that this woman, which clearly identifies herself as East Indian, now has to go under the guise of being black for political reasons. Why can't she just be the first East Indian? The first woman president was if she wins, the first president was an East Indian woman. Why is that a problem? Why do she have to be black? Because once again, in the bigger spectrum of the real political situation, it has to be an element to make black people believe that they are making progress within America. And that's why there has to be an element that makes black people believe that we are making progress. So we had the first quote unquote, because the same thing could be made about Barack Obama. His father was from Africa. His mother was a white woman. He's not connected to like slavery, and neither one of his descendants had to deal with Jim Crow. And so this is a convenient, it's the optics of it. He looks black. She looks black. And then it can be used now. And why is that necessary? Because black people in America are the most powerful group of black people on the planet. Repeat that. Black people in America are the most powerful group of black people on the planet. From an economic standpoint, from an influential standpoint, even from a militaristic standpoint. A lot of people sleep on that part. And that is why it's been written in, the FBI files that they have to neutralize the militant aspect of what's going on in black men. We fought in this white man's war. We trained under this white man's army. A lot of us are trained, have been trained within this wicked man's army. Our children, and you see in just about every inner city in America, they are warriors. And I'm talking about, we see it, they're gunning each other, but they're directing their attention. They're directing their attention towards each other. But that shows you that psychologically they see that there's something the matter with the system and they're rebelling against it. The only outlet for them is, once again, this is why, once again, we're getting into how this thing is done systematically. They know subconsciously that it's something the matter with the system. That's why they rebel against it. This is why they have to create music geared on fighting each other. So they could program them to hate themselves as opposed to understanding. See, the music is educating them on where to direct their aggression. The music. They're being educated within with the drill rap, the gangster rap of time ago, to kill each other, because they know they're supposed to be fighting something subconsciously. And this is why they have to be miseducated within the school system. So the school system is teaching them about pretty much nothing. Oh, and they see that it's fake. Me looking back on it, I know, a lot of times when I used to act up in classes was because I was uninterested in what was being taught in the classroom. I didn't care about what they was being taught, so I would start to act up. They miseducate you. See, with the men, we have testosterone and we want to be active, and we kind of like, well, we're supposed to be, because a lot of these dudes is emotional as hell nowadays, but we tend to be more logical. So if it's not really making sense, like how can I apply this in my life, we begin to say, okay, this is bullshit. This is bullshit. And then we're off to something else. We begin to act up. That's why it's more likely for boys to act up within the confines of classrooms than it is for females. They can sit back and listen to the bullshit, and then they may think it's bullshit as well, but they, it's just a different form of thinking, But we see that the classrooms is teaching us bullshit. What can we relate to? What's being said on the music. Culturally, we can relate to that. And culturally, we see it directly. You know, black people robbing each other, black people selling drugs to each other, black people in poverty, black people trying to get it by any means. So they could actually see that, oh, this is real. They don't get into the bigger picture of things. They don't broaden the scope and get them out of the direct. They want to they deal with the immediate. And this is why we're being programmed to not project and plan generations ahead. Right now, it should be something constructed to educating the children into becoming problem solvers in the future of the problems that we suffer from today. Say it again. There needs to be something constructed educationally amongst the children so they can be problem solvers. So when they become adults, they could solve the problems that we suffer from today. That's not how we educate our children. We educate our children to someday get a job within the white man system. So even your educated class of people are looking to be employed by the white man. Even your educated class, for the most part, are seeking employment from the white power structure. That's a problem. That should be a problem. It's no different than what happened on the plantation. Don't you know there were professionals on the plantation? People think, and once again, this is the misrepresentation of history. People think that the plantation was, just a bunch of field hands picking cotton and doing basic shit like, yeah, yo, go lift that and bring it over here type of shit. No. There was no pharmaceutical company that existed. So you had certain, and this was mainly the black women, you had certain women that, they held on to their heritage, they held on to the cultural things, sciences within West Africa, and they knew how to heal people through by using the plants. Certain plants they use, as heal elements to heal certain things. She would cost more if you wanted to buy her on a plantation. Like, oh yeah, well, she know how to do X, Y, and Z. So she's going to cost a little more than just a regular field hand. You had men that knew how to build. You had black men that knew how to fix boats and know how to do things, construct things. Yeah, so there was no the idea to think that we're just like basic workers. No. You had educated slaves that knew how to invent things. That slave would cost more than just a regular field hand. So this whole notion to think that we're not in a form of modern day slavery because now you have this educated class. Once again, you just misrepresent, history, and you begin giving this caricature of history, and you think that is really what it was. Architects and all different types of things that, there were black men that knew how to do shit. Knew how to build houses and construct roads. That slave would cost more. No different than there you got this boule class.
either one, but she obviously doesn't, because she was Indian all the way, and then all of a sudden she made a turn and she became a black person.
Just to be clear, sir, do you believe that
I think somebody should look into that too when you continue in a very hostile, nasty tone.
It's a direct question, sir. Do you believe that Vice President Kamala Harris is a DEI hire, as some Republicans
I really don't
have said?
know. I mean, I really don't know. Could be. There are some, and there are plenty. I know this lady right over there, Harris, is a fantastic person who just interviewed me at length. And
he's getting away from the question. He's a slick little devil. He don't know he don't know what she's talking about. It's just so fake. He don't know what she's talking about. She trying to get a talking point on him. He don't really know what DEI hire is. Like, she may be, Once he found out that it wasn't like this racist type of slogan, that's what he was fishing for. Okay. Well, she may be. Like, who gives a shit? And I feel him on that. I don't give a shit about that shit either. I don't give a shit about whether Kamala Harris is a DEI hire. And then where are the black men at with this amongst this National Association of Black Journalists? Why gotta be black men up there? We're seeing why.
And we had a great interview, I think, and I heard you got very good ratings on that.
Well,
interview.
You told me it was the longest one of your life, so we had a good discussion. Look, I want to talk about why you're here today. I mean, it is not lost on us how divided we are as a country. And as you were coming today, we really got to see that we are divided along the lines of race, along the lines of gender. And there is this question of, in this moment where we are, why come here? What is your message today?
My message is to stop people from invading our country that are taking, frankly, a lot of problems with it. But one of the big problems, and a lot of the journalists in this room I know and I have great respect for, a lot of the journalists in this room are black. I will tell you that coming from the border are millions and millions of people that happen to be taking black jobs. You had the best.
What exactly is a black job, sir?
A black job is anybody that has a job. That's what it is. Anybody that has a job.
Hilarious. I gotta hear that shit again, man.
Are millions and millions of people that happen to be taking black jobs. You had the best.
What exactly is a black job, sir?
A black job is anybody that has a job. That's what it is. Anybody that has a job.
All right.
What is a black job? Okay, so let's go into that. He got into border control, right? Which is one of the main things that he likes to talk about. And one of his arguments is suggesting that, well, when the immigrants come in, they're taking a lot of quote unquote black jobs. Okay. So, the National Association of Black Journalists, right? Since they're, on Team Democrat, that was their opportunity of trying to get a got you moment on Donald Trump. So they're saying, well, what exactly is a black job? To say that, well, you relegate black people to this position, and that's because you're racist. You think that, I guess, for example, working at Walmart, for example, will be a black job as opposed to working in a law firm. But the reality of the situation is that when these immigrants come into the country, they're going to be getting those type of jobs that since desegregation has been, areas of employment for black people. That's just a fact. But see, this is the thing, right? And this would be, they're like, oh yeah, I sound like a house nigga. And I was like, no. The problem with the whole thing is that the whole thing is fake. So what he's saying is a black job is pretty much, employment. As what just Astro said, a black job is a job that is held by a black person, right? So these jobs, for whatever reason, and we know the reasons, because a lot of times Black people have to take some of these jobs because in many ways we've been disenfranchised by the racist system that we live in. So once a dude come out of jail with felonies, he can't get certain jobs, so he's relegated to working at Walmart, working at McDonald's, or working some of these jobs that's going to be accessible now to these immigrants, because a lot of these jobs don't have any higher education requirements. You could just have a basic education. They don't really do extensive background checks. They tend to not care if you graduated out of high school. So these are some of the jobs that a lot of felons, which we have a lot in our community, would be relegated to being employed by, because they're being disenfranchised, or they fall into this category of not being educated enough. So why are we playing these games? Why are we playing these games? Trying to get you, once again, we're trying to get a got you moment with him. No, let's hold him to that. Okay, so what jobs are you providing? Okay, so if we were to support you, and you're saying that they're taking Black jobs, what are you going to do to help better the quality of these Black jobs that you speak of? I want to hear that type of shit. I don't want to hear no shit about, well, what is a Black job? That question in itself is trying to get a got you moment for the Democratic Party. I'm not team Democrat. I'm not team Republican. I'm team Black. Fuck the red, fuck the blue. We team Black. So my question would have been, okay, you may have a point there. Okay, so one of the problems, I would have threw the question, since we're dealing with Black jobs now. Okay, so these jobs that you speak of that you call Black jobs, a lot of these jobs are, we feel as though it's underpaying Black people. What can we do to elevate the pay or raise the minimum wage standard? Let's raise the minimum wage. How can we raise the minimum wage so we can give a better quality of life for Black people? That's the type of language we need to hear. We don't need to hear what is a Black job. Who gives a fuck about that? I mean, what would that accomplish? What would that accomplish? Even if they got him on that point, which he wiggled out of, right? If they was to get him on a Black, like, okay, what is a Black job? Yeah, well, a Black job is working at McDonald's. Oh, you're racist. You're thinking that Black people only qualified to work at McDonald's. You're thinking that Black people only, so why you think that Black people, because we're not educated, you believe that we're stupid, so that's why we got to work at McDonald's? What is the goal behind even asking that question? It's fake. All the shit is fake. Who gives a shit? We already know that they're racist. We already know. This is the thing, right? We already know that. So now let's fuck with them. Let's use that shit to our niggas is so behind the ball. We already know that these people are racist. So I don't give a fuck about that. Let's show them. Let's manipulate their asses. Think about that. Like, I'm not going to get into, yeah. You don't need to for him to say something stupid as an answer on this to see that they're racist. We already know that they are racist. So let's now manipulate this shit so we could benefit from the shit. As opposed to getting a gotcha moment. Oh, see, look, he's racist. Which is going to accomplish nothing. That's not going to stop white people from voting for Donald Trump. And hell, that's not going to stop Black people who want to vote for Donald Trump to vote for Donald Trump. So it's the point in itself is worthless to even ask the question. And that's from a person that's not a Democrat or a Republican. a person that wants something tangible out the conversation. I'm seeking power. So the mindset is fucked up amongst Black people. We're not seeking power. We're seeking to be a tool for the Democratic Party. We're not seeking like power. We don't have an agenda. If our agenda was like Black superiority or Black independence or Black freedom, let's use this to our advantage. Okay, so yeah, what are you going to do about the Black jobs? How can we elevate the Black jobs since you bring up Black jobs? Who gives a fuck about him being racist? We know the crack is racist. There's nothing that, he going to say to make me think that he's not racist.
And they're
Mr.
taking the employment away from Black people. They're coming in, they're invading. It's an invasion of millions of people, probably 15, 16, 17 million people. I have a feeling it's much more than that. And everybody's been seeing what's happened. The first group of people, the Black population, is affected most by that. And Kamala is allowing it to happen. She's
so what you're seeing, right? Before I do with Professor Lady Love, Professor Lovely Lady, what's going on? What's going on, Yanga? Astro's in the building as well. That's a fact. Like who are the ones complaining about the migrant crisis in Chicago? It's a Black community. The white community ain't complaining. Why isn't the white community complaining? Because it's not affecting them. They're not in their communities. You know what I'm saying? So that's just a fact. You're being directly impacted by this mass migration, or from the asylum seekers. They want to be politically correct. That's just a fact. So, Professor Lovely Lady says, "Is there really such thing as a is there really such a thing as a so-called Black job? Sounds more like low-income jobs, which individuals of all races tend to work." Just saying. Well, on a surface level, you are correct. Individuals of all races do tend to be or do occupy low-income jobs, right? Because classism really doesn't have a race per se. But if I'm a Black person, right, that is understanding of the political spectrum that affects Black people, that will be a problem for me, because I know that there is a large segment of the Black population that are in these low-income jobs. So when he says Black job, right? So when he says Black job, right? I don't give a fuck about the language. I know what he's talking about. He's talking about, as what you said, low-income jobs, as what I elaborated on, low-income jobs that certain segment of Black society has to take due to the fact that they have been disenfranchised within this white supremacist system. Example, a lot of men coming out of jails with felonies. That restricts them from a lot of access to a lot of jobs, and they're relegated to these low-income jobs for employment. Individuals with just a high school diploma. Individuals that just got their GED, or individuals that didn't graduate out of high school. They're relegated to these low-income jobs. That is a great portion of the Black population that is relegated to these jobs. So when he says Black jobs, I know what he's talking about. I can give a damn about how he's wording it. You know what I'm saying? I can give a damn about how he's wording it. I'm trying to get some tangible solution, something that's going to help those people in the low income jobs. So it's white people working at Walmart, and there's Latinas working at Walmart, but this is a black person that is seeking to use their voting power to help black people. So he's saying that, well, if we let all these immigrants in, they're not just going to be coming. They're not going to be running law firms and CEOs of, Apple, and you know what I'm saying? They're not going to be taking those jobs. They're going to be taking these jobs. And these jobs are being occupied in many cities predominantly by black people. So he called them, he's talking to black people, so he said they're going to be taking black jobs. I don't give a damn about the wording. These migrants aren't going to be becoming CEOs of law firms. You know what I'm saying? They're not going to be running colleges and universities. They're not going to be professors of, English literature in Yale University. They're not taking those jobs, So we just got to be realistic about as to what is being done here in the political spectrum. And we know ultimately that the statement within itself has a racial element, because we know how black people get in the position to have to take these jobs, which is the real racist part, not the fact that he's calling it a black job. What we should be focused more on is how the system has constructed us to be in position where we have to take these jobs. But we don't think like that.
The border czar, she's the worst border czar in the history of the world. There's never been a border czar like this. She's never even essentially been. She said she was there once, but not the right part of the border. So she was a border czar. She's done a horrible job. These people are coming into our country, and they're taking black jobs and Hispanic jobs, and frankly, they're taking union jobs. Unions are being very badly affected by all of the millions of people that are pouring into our country. And one thing, as we discussed, many of these people are coming in from mental institutions, from prisons, from jails. They're gang members in other countries. Other countries are setting loose their prisoners. They're opening up their prisons and their mental institutions, and they're taking their bad people, drug dealers, gang members, and they're bringing them into the United States. And by the way, their crime rate is going down, and our crime rate is going to be a disaster.
Mr. President, I want to get into how you address some of the issues with black communities. And I say that plural because we live in communities of color that are different. We're not all the same. We don't vote the same. We don't think the same. It's not monolithic. So as you come here today, I want to talk about something that bursts. And this is the weight of the inflation on this country right now. The nonprofit Money Management International recently released data from its mid-year analysis that we have found a 52% rise in people who are seeking counseling for being in credit debt. They're paying for food that is sky high on their credit cards, and now they can't pay that off. The credit counseling nonprofit MMI, as I said, is saying now that they've seen surges that they haven't seen since we were in a pandemic of people in financial trouble. Much of that falls on the shoulders of single moms, single black moms, when you look statistically. Yeah. How do you turn it around? What's your plan for the black community when it comes to money?
So, first of all, it's very hard to hear you for whatever reason because of the fact that they have bad equipment, because I guess, this woman was unable to get the right equipment. But it's very hard for me to hear you.
Yo, he's gonna scold her the whole time, yo. He's gonna scold her the whole time. So the question is geared once again towards issues that is concerning black women and how it's affecting their credit and things of that nature. So let's listen to it again.
Community when it comes to money.
So first of all, it's very hard to hear you for whatever reason.
Debt. They're paying for food that is sky high on their credit cards, and now they can't pay that off. The credit counseling nonprofit MMI, as I said, is saying now that they've seen surges that they haven't seen since we were in a pandemic of people in financial trouble. Much of that falls on the shoulders of single moms, single black moms, when you look statistically. Yeah. How do you turn it around? What's your plan today? I want to talk about something that bursts, and this is the weight of the inflation on this country right now.
And VP Harris is in the building. What's going on, Chris? Oh man, we gotta hook you up with that Landy Christ dude, man. That dude was wilding, man. Chris, that dude Landy Christ was wilding yesterday, man. He checked all them dudes, man. Blue had to leave, you know what I mean? But well, I mean, they did their thing, but they allowed this dude, man. He was talking crazy to him, man. He was kind of talking crazy to him. I'm gonna keep it real. Not necessarily with the information, but he was just talking crazy to them dudes, man. Yo, you got to see that Landy Christ dude, man. You know, yeah, that was wild, bro. It was wild yesterday.
The nonprofit Money Management International recently released data from its mid-year analysis that we have found a 52% rise in people who are seeking counseling for being in credit debt. They're paying for food that is sky high on their credit cards, and now they can't pay that off. The credit counseling nonprofit MMI, as I said, is saying now that they've seen surges that they haven't seen since we were in a pandemic of people in financial trouble. Much of that falls on the shoulders of single moms, single black moms, when you look statistically. Yeah. How do you turn it around? What's your plan for the black community when it comes to money?
So, first of all, it's very hard to hear you for whatever reason because of the fact that they have bad equipment, because I guess, you know, this woman was unable to get the right equipment. But it's very hard for me to hear you, but I can hear every other word. It's very difficult, actually. But so I don't know if they can fix it or do something with it, but I'll do the best I can with it. The inflation is absolutely destroying our middle class, our working class, virtually every class. Inflation is a disaster in our country. Inflation is a country buster. It breaks every country. And we had, in my opinion, the worst inflation we've had. They say it's 58 years, but I think it's much more than that. It's been devastating. And if you just take a look at a lot of things they don't include, like interest rates. Interest rates went from 2.4% to 10%, and you can't get the money. People can't buy houses. They no longer have the American dream. Young people, young black people, they don't have the American dream anymore. They can't buy a house. They can't borrow the money because of the cost of the money. They can't buy because of the cost of housing, because of the cost to build it, because of inflation. Inflation is a disaster, and it's destroying our country. And it's destroying the black community probably as much or more.
So what do you do?
Than any.
What's your plan?
You know what we have to do? We have to bring down the cost of energy, and that's going to bring down the cost of inflation. This was all started with a bad energy policy by Joe Biden. By the way, just if I might, I was running against a man named Biden. You probably saw that. And he was losing very badly in the polls, and then he had a rather bad debate. I would say it was a bad debate. I would say it was one of the worst debates in history, and his poll numbers crashed. And instead of saying, you know, let's keep going and maybe something happens the other way, they said, oh, we're going to replace him. Let's just replace him. That's like you're in a fight, a prize fighter's in a fight. He's not doing well. You say, let's bring in another fighter. So our whole campaign was steered toward him, and now we have to steer toward him. But ultimately, it's the same because they have bad policy. They have policies of open borders, unbelievable open borders, horrible energy policies. They want to get rid of, as you say, gasoline in cars. They want to get rid of oil. They want to get rid of efficient heating.
Mr. President.
Environmentally, what they're doing is killing our country.
Yeah, and that took you out to the deep waters now. Like she asked a question specifically about I guess credit repair and inflation and the rise of prices and which has an impact on credit, and which ultimately is going to have an impact on shopping. And she directed the question specifically to Black women in particular because I guess she has some type of statistic backing up the fact that mostly, black women, are, the head of households, which they, required to do, certain shopping and provide for the families and things of that nature. Um, so, he took the question. He didn't really deal specifically with black women, but he just, brought in the question and then took them out, to once again drive home a point that he's making, which ultimately is designed to attack the Democratic Party and, Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. He don't give a shit about, what she's talking about ultimately. But let's get into the whole thing, right? Because we know that he doesn't give a shit about black women per se, right? He has a larger population to cater to. We are a minority group, a very influential minority group, but that is diminishing as we speak. But still, yet we're not even understanding that totally. They'll say that they understand that, but why would you ask a question like that if you understand that? If you really understand that, then you shouldn't be asking that type of question. One, you shouldn't be relegating a question to deal with a specific gender within your population, right? And two, which is most importantly, if you're going to deal with the major problem in the black community, it would be relegated to violence within the black community, because that is ultimately the major problem. But that's neither here nor there. Once again, it just shows you that this is a divide within the black community. And this divide, I think, ultimately is the black male's fault, because we're not really doing nothing collectively to provide basic necessities within the community. So now they're relegated to active power structure for certain privileges. And that's what she was doing. She could give a damn about what's going on with niggas. She's worried about shit that affects black women and, raising these families, and these households that's headed by black women. So the question was geared around that. But once again, it's a reflection of the disunity that exists within the black community. He don't give a shit about either one of those things. And once again, why are we having this conversation? I'm still lost. I'm still lost as to why this is even happening, because even if even if one party was being sincere, you really think they're going to be able to accomplish what is being asked for on that level? Like, you really think he's going to do something specifically to help black people in that particular area? No, that's not going to happen. I just hold them to I would just hold them to very tangible solutions. So I guess she was in a realm, I guess you could say, what you're going to do about the credit. But they got these credit repair programs, which is all bullshit. You can reference that. It's always a game when you're playing politics with the beast. I would more so just be asking them to build shit within the community, because that's something that we could definitely They didn't build this community center, so we're not fucking with y'all no more. We want better roads. You know what I'm saying? Something that they could pay the city to do. And so once again, the purpose of me doing this right now is I'm pushing out I'm exposing, should I say, I'm exposing the TMZ version of politics. This ain't real politics. This is just a game that's being played to make America look sophisticated. Oh, you got this sophisticated group of black people that's asking the tough questions to Donald Trump. Because the black people are, we're looking to vote for the person that's really gonna do the right thing for America and black people. So we got the Association of Black Journalists. and they're going to ask the tough questions on Donald Trump. You know, just a game. It's all a joke. So he's just swimming right through these questions. And let's deal with one more point before we move on.
They're absolutely destroying our country, but the inflation is the thing that's hurting the black worker, the black population, and every other population within our country. Inflation is the worst it's been, I think, in over 100 years, and they'll fact check it. They'll say it's only 58. Whatever it may be, they don't add all the numbers. They don't add the really bad numbers, and you can check that too. But inflation, Harris, is absolutely destroying this country and the people in our country. Yes,
Mr.
ma'am.
President, can I ask you another question
Yes,
that is also impacting black Americans?
And that's very clear now. Good.
I'm sorry?
It's very clear. I hear you.
Okay. So Sadia Massey, someone from Illinois, an unarmed black woman, was shot the other day in her home by a deputy sheriff. The deputy has since been charged with murder. You've said police would get immunity from prosecution if you win. Why should someone like that officer have immunity, in your opinion?
Immunity?
Immunity.
I don't know the exact case, but I saw something, and it didn't look good to me. It didn't look good to me. Are you talking with the water, right?
Yeah, well, police unions are not backing this person either.
Okay.
But again, why would...
They're going to be charging the officer? I guess they're charging the officer.
So why should he receive immunity?
Well, he might not. I mean, it depends. It depends on what happens. I'm talking about people that are much different cases than that. We need people to protect ourselves. And
he don't know what the fuck she's talking about. He don't know what the fuck she's talking about. He said, yeah, with the water, he probably seen the clip and he didn't look into that. He did not look into that. He could care less about what's going on with what black people are concerned about. He didn't know what DEI stand for. You know, he vaguely knows about this whole thing with Sonia Massey. So much so they refer to, with the thing with the water, right?
by the way, in Chicago, as an example, a few weeks ago, July 4th weekend, they had 117 shootings and 17 deaths. Nobody wants that. Nobody wants that. We need to have our police officers have the respect and dignity back. In this particular case, I saw something that didn't look good to me. I didn't like it. I didn't like it at all.
So can you get a little more specific back to the immunity question? Who would make those
well, right now, for the most part, people are protected by their unions, by their police unions, or by their police departments. But I'm saying if I felt, or if a group of people would feel that somebody was being unfairly prosecuted because the person did a good job maybe with crime, or made a mistake, an innocent mistake. There's a big difference between being a bad person and making an innocent mistake. But if somebody made an innocent mistake, I would want to help that person.
What would those exceptions be? What would determine
you
an
go
innocent
after
mistake?
Somebody and it's a very close call and it's very dangerous. And you know, they have the policeman's life and woman is a very difficult thing because sometimes you have less than a second to make a life and death decision, and sometimes very bad decisions are made. They're not made from an evil standpoint, but they're made from the standpoint of they made a mistake.
So I want to follow up really quickly. I find it interesting because you do talk about reining in prosecutors, especially when it comes to prosecutors that are prosecuting you. Why doesn't that skepticism apply to law enforcement?
Well, I've been prosecuted because I'm a political opponent of two people that have weaponized our justice system. I've been prosecuted. I just won the big case in Florida. Everyone said that was the biggest case. That was the most difficult case. And I just won it. Now, Biden has a similar case, except much worse. I was protected under the Presidential Records Act. Biden wasn't, because he wasn't president at the time. And he had 50 years worth of documents. And
okay, so he went off the question. You know what I'm saying? The initial question was pretty much you're going to give immunity to people, to a police force that are that are abusing the power within the Black community, right? So there's a lot of things we could deal with it on this level, right? Once again, let's deal with this from a historical standpoint, right? The Black Panther Party, right, was designed. One of the main things that they wanted to focus in on was police brutality, right? So police brutality existed for decades, centuries now. We could go all the way back to the slave patrol, but we're just dealing with modern police brutality, right? The Black Panther Party was constructed. One of the main reasons why was because of police brutality, right? The Black Panther Party was infiltrated. They killed notable leaders. One of the leaders went into exile into Africa. The Black Panther Party today is a shell of what it once was. There's documents showing that there was a collective effort on the part of the CIA and the FBI to infiltrate these organizations, right? Why are we having a conversation with them about police brutality when we were trying to solve our own problems, right? When we were trying to solve the police brutality problem, right? They responded. So just think about that. I want you to really think on that point that, okay, these police officers are just pulling people over for no apparent reason. They're abusing them. They're doing all types of unlawful things to them. We construct the organization to say enough is enough. We're not going to we're not going to put up with the fact that you're coming into our communities and you're treating us this way and you're abusing your power. They respond by infiltrating that organization. Why are you having a conversation again about I don't get that part. So that means, right? That means that they don't want to solve the problem. They don't want to solve the problem of police brutality. Because when you tried to solve it yourself, they responded by attacking the organization that was trying to solve the problem. I don't care about nothing else. It's just straight down the line, just like that. Oh no, well, we're trying to let's put Black people into the police force. I don't want to hear none of that shit. When we tried to solve the problem of police brutality, they responded by neutralizing that organization. That means that they don't want to solve the problem of police brutality. That's what that means. I'm not trying to look in and understand the deeper meaning of shit. I don't know. It's clear. And in fact, modern day gun laws came as a direct result to the Black Panther Party. The Black Panther Party for self-defense. So what does that mean? Before then, you didn't have these gun laws. Whereas though, you have to have a license to carry. And, well, if you get this felony, then you're no longer allowed to have any guns. It's a system that they construct. What does that mean? What prevents a person from having a firearm, right? Oh, well, if you have a felony, a violent felony record, right? If you have a drug offense, right? So the reason why a person is going to have a drug offense is for obviously for selling drugs. How did the drugs get into the community? So once again, you're talking about something that's been constructed. They understand law, they study sociology, and they're constructing laws that's going to put you in a position where you're not having a gun or you can't legally have a gun. These laws did not exist before the Black Panther Party. So what they did as a result of you trying to defend yourselves, right? Once we push away all the other bullshit, you try to defend yourself. They neutralized the organization, and then they learned their lesson. You know what? We don't want this ever happening again. So what we're going to do? We're going to make laws to make it tougher for them to get guns. That's exactly what they did. And guess what? You're still being abused by the police officers. You're still being attacked by police officers. Police officers are still, to this day, abusing their power. So now you're bringing this up for what reason? You're going to have a conversation now with them, the people that neutralize your attempt to solve the problem. About, okay, yeah, oh, he wants to further, we want to give them immunity. We're not trying to have a conversation with that. Not only that they that he, is cool with the status quo today, he wants to further empowering the very same people that are abusing their power by giving them immunity. He justified it by saying, "Oh, they got to make split-second decisions." Well, I don't really see too much of black police officers making these bad decisions when they're pulling over white people. And maybe that's something that the media is perpetuating. I rarely see stuff like, "Oh, well, the unarmed white guy was shot by the black police officers." If anything, I see the black police officers doing that once again on other black people, if that's the case. If we're seeing a black police officer do some foul shit, it's on a black citizen. So there's a culture that exists amongst the police officers. And we're having this conversation with them for what reason? All TMZ shit. All TMZ shit. So who cares at this point what he thinks? What we need to be doing is, okay, why are they in our community? Because our community is riddled with violence. Why is our community violent? Because there's a culture that exists. Where does this culture come from? It comes from, poverty. Okay, so how do we solve this poverty problem? Oh, rap music as well. Okay, let's deal with the rap music. But, first let's deal with this poverty problem. A lot of these young men are out here selling drugs or making ends meet through illegal terms because they don't have a place where they could be employed at within their community. So let's talk now to the college graduates in economics. Let's get some new minds to solve the problem on how we can take back our communities economically so we can solve our own problem. A lot of people talk, I said this before, right? Black people say they want to be treated fairly within the system. They want equality. Don't you know that's like a declaration of war? You're saying, just imagine, right? For example, right? Imagine how much money, how much power that these folks would have to give up in order for you to be equal in America. Just think about how much they would have to give up in order for that to be the case. So they want to keep it as it is. In fact, they want to further it. They want you to have less. The little stuff that you have, they want to take away from you. You know? Yeah, we just wanted to be equal. That's a declaration of war within this system. They got to give up a whole lot for you to be equal in America. So once again, you're not even reading the room correctly. You asking for equality is a declaration of war. They're not trying to give up all the stuff that they would have to give up for it to be equal with you. You know, we all have done it. You know, we talk about working these odd jobs, and this is the I don't want to say frustrating, but this is the fakeness of the system. These same people will argue with you about the system being fair, but when they see the type of jobs Black people have to work, they in their mind know that it's due to the system that is doing it, and they're cool with it. They're cool with the system producing those type of individuals. So they say absolutely nothing. Yes, it would be Black colleges. It would be a declaration of war, you know. So why doesn't anybody want to? Why doesn't the dominant society, the majority, white America, why are they not concerned about police brutality? Because one, it don't affect them, and two, it makes them feel comfortable. They want to be reassured that, okay, is these niggas, we keeping these niggas in check. Like, that makes white America feel comfortable. The fact that we're begging them, right? Can you please stop shooting us? We're not trying to like literally fight the police, right? No more. Because remember, the Black Panther Party was going, they were literally having shootouts with the police. They're comfortable with this position now that we're just like, Black Lives Matter. Can you just please stop shooting us? Can you please stop just beating us down unarmed, and we don't want the smoke? And they're saying like, no, we're not going to construct any laws that's going to hold the police accountable for doing these things. They literally, right? They tried to pass the George Floyd Act. It was denied by Congress. I mean, it's denied by the Senate. They got it through the House, right? And this, once again, these are the political games that they're playing, right? Now, the Democrats supposed to control the House, right? So only way this bill was going to be detracted, right, is if there were members within the House on the side of the Democrats that goes against the bill. Ironically, there were. Right? So I know one of them was the I think the senator in West Virginia, or the governor in West Virginia, I forget, senator in West Virginia. And so now it was two of them. I know one of them was the senator in West Virginia. So now when they go into the Senate, when they go into the Republicans, right? So it passed through the House, you know. So the Democrats was able to obviously get the majority, but it's not going to pass through the Senate because the Republicans are all going to be on the same accord. These are the games that they play. All political theater. So they have these private conversations, right? And this is my conspiracy mind working, right? They have these private conversations where they say, well, who's going to take the fall for this? Because we can't allow this to be passed, because white America is not going to be comfortable with these, holding them accountable, because that's going to make the police officers operate a certain type of way as a result of that, right? And this is the military force behind domestic white supremacy. This still is a thing. Like we got out of the mind state of thinking that this is an ongoing war of the races. Yeah, all this is racial shit going on. Oh no, it's just about the poverty community. No, I'm not trying to hear none of that shit. These police officers are gunning down unarmed black men. It's a problem. It's always been a problem. We tried to solve the problem. It was a very aggressive response when we tried to solve that problem. So it's safe to say that they are cool with how it is. They're not trying to do nothing to solve the problem. So they don't want you to solve the problem. And they're not trying to do nothing to solve the problem. What is that saying to you? Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Boo says they'll talk drugs and guns and trafficking, but not the conditions that grow that behavior. Exactly. It's all just political jargon. Blue says they do get affected, but the collateral is worth keeping us in line. Yeah, it's exactly. It's more important to keep the black community in check. Now, that's not to say that there's crazy violence in the black community. Yes, but I guarantee you that if there was no police presence in the black community, there will be hell in the black community. There will be hell in the black community for years. But I think that we will eventually begin to solve the problem ourselves. I really believe that there will be things that set up. It will be ugly at first, definitely. But I think that we will begin to solve the problem once it begins to affect us our immediate families. We will begin to solve the problem. And that problem will actually solve the problem. But, so with that being said, we got into the fake politics, right? So what we're going to do, right? We'll take a step back. We're going to get into, so if this is the fake politics, what is the real politics? What is the real politics? That gets into what I'm going to present for a little bit today, right? What is the real politics? Who controls the United States? Who really controls the United States? We're going to deal with one aspect of white supremacy, right? Now, what you see this round table group and these different corporations that play a significant role in American politics globally and domestically. How were they formed? Who formed them? And what did they form these organizations for? Who are these people affiliated with? And what impact is it going to have on Black people? It's a question we should be asking, right? Okay, let's deal with this, right? Cecil Rose, for those that don't know, so much about him, he was a businessman, and he's known for mining the diamonds and what they call Rhodesia at the time in Zimbabwe. And he also came up with the Rhodes Scholarship. He was also prime minister of the Cape Colony, as what y'all reading here from 1890 to 1896. And he is a proponent of British imperialism, right? So he once again formed the Rhodes Scholarship. For those who are unaware of what that is, the basic information is right before you. The Rhodes Scholarship is an international postgraduate award for students to study at the University of Oxford, right? So the purpose of the Rhodes Scholarship is to educate the more elite students in the universities that's being controlled by the British. So when you do that, you're shaping the minds of the youth to be proponents of your political agenda. And it's the smarter minds. We're going to take the elite amongst, the youth. And we're going to educate them in our universities. And with that education, they could go out and be proponents of British imperialism. Simple, right? This is exactly what I said we should do in the Black community. Let's take the youth, educate them on solving, because he's like, a conservative, meaning that we're in power. We're just trying to maintain our power, right? So in doing so, he has to shape the minds of the youth as well, but not in a way to be radical, but more so in a way to, further, their domination. We, on the other hand, are in a different position. We're in a position where we now have to free ourselves from this form of imperialism. So we have to educate our children to be more so revolutionary as opposed to conservative. But going back to the Rhodes Scholarship, that's what they constructed the scholarship for. Now, good book to read by Carol Quigley. Tragedy and Hope was a good book, but this is another good book, The Anglo-American Establishment. It says, Rhodes and 5 previous wills left his fortune to form a secret society, which was to advocate itself to the preservation and expansion of the British Empire. I'm going to read that again. Rhodes in 5 previous wills left his fortune to form a secret society, which was to devote itself to the preservation and expansion of the British Empire. Some people don't believe in secret societies. Some people don't believe that there's groups of people that are the puppeteers behind politics. Some people believe that voting is going to change this. Let's get into the real politics. So this is a person that was prime minister of a colonized area of the world that had a very valuable resource that he controls, right? Cecil Rhodes. They even named the country after him, Rhodesia. He controlled diamonds. So he left his fortune to form a secret society, which was devoted for the preservation and expansion of the British Empire. And this ain't pennies you're talking about. That's the point I'm making. You're probably talking about, in today's money, trillions of dollars. Okay. The expansion, promotion, and development of a secret society, the true aim and object whereof shall be the extension of British rule throughout the world. Cool. These are some of the members of the society. William T. Stead, obviously Cecil Rose, and Reginald Brett. So Cecil Rose, along with William T. Stead and the other two that I just mentioned, will design a list consisting of a group of men in what is termed as the inner circle and outer circle. The former was labeled Society of the Elect, and the latter the Association of Helpers. All right. So these are the members of the inner circle. William T.C. They just add Alfred Milner to the mix. This would be the inner circle, right? Just to add the Rothschild connection, because you had a Rothschild was heavily influential within the economic spectrum within London, which had an influence on the society as a whole in Britain, right? First, they discussed their goals and agreed that if necessary, in order to achieve Anglo-American unity, Britain should join the UN. They discussed the organization of the secret society and divided it into two circles: the Society of the Elect, and the outer circle, the Association of Helpers. And the review of the reviews was William T. Stead's magazine, right? Rose said that he had already revealed the plan for the Society of the Elect to Rothschild, right? And Little Johnson. So once again, you having these very powerful individuals coming together to form a society for the expansion of the British Empire and the promotion of Anglo-Americanism. Okay. Once again, the British Rothschild family. It says, according to Coleman, Rowe's first roundtable group was established in South Africa with the funding from the British Rothschild family. Rowe's first roundtable group was established in South Africa with the funding from the British Rothschild family to train business leaders loyal to Britain in ways to maintain control over that country's wealth. So once again, these are people planning. These are people projecting. These are people understanding the people that they're engaging. They're seeking control. They want power. Something that's alien to the minds of Black men for some reason. Right? Things that just don't happen. They're not concerned about a vote. These people aren't asking people to, they're not saying that, white lives matter and all that. No, they're seeking power. And they're constructing, and they're doing it through organization and control of resources. These aren't people that's trying to win an election. The goals of the Rose Society, once again, the extension of British rule throughout the world, the perfecting of a system of immigration from the United Kingdom, and of colonization by British subjects of all lands where in the means of livelihood are attainable by energy, labor, and enterprise. The ultimate recovery of the United States of America as an integral part of a British empire, right? So what does that mean? That we're going to control the politics within America as we begin to expand our empire globally. America is a very important part of this agenda. Okay, this is secretized. What was the name? Secret Rose Society. Okay, this secret society has been called by many names. It was initially named after Cecil Rhodes, the Secret Society of Cecil Rhodes. Cecil would lead this secret order for over a decade. His successors would be Alfred Milner. Once Milner assumed leadership, the secret society began to be recognized as Milner's Kindergarten, or the Round Table Group. So when you hear the term, right, Round Table Group, that is what they're talking about. There's no conspiracy, there's no people under a basement with tinfoil hats that's, calling on the aliens and all that type of shit that y'all think. When you hear the Round Table Group, this is where that came from. Other names for this organization are the Chatham House crowd, the Rhodes crowd, the Times crowd. All right. Once again, this is getting into all the things that they were getting involved in. The Boer War. They created the Times magazine. They was the founder of the Royal Institute of International Affairs. They got into involvement in the Israeli-Palestine situation. They were heavily influential with the war in Germany, the World War I, World War II. So this is what all this is saying. Once again, they were involved in the Boer War, etc., etc. Right. So let's understand how secret societies work, right? It says bodies like the United States Council on Foreign Relations, the British Royal Institute for International Affairs, commonly known as Chatham House, and transnational counterparts like Bilderberg and the Trilateral Commission play a crucial role in formulating policy directions, molding establishment consensus, and even testing for likely opposition. These institutions propagate the resulting policy positions throughout their network of authoritative channels. What are these authoritative channels? University publications, public officials, forums, setting the limits of respectable foreign policy debate. Now, this is once again opening up the door to understanding how this thing worked. It initially started with billionaires that gained their wealth from colonization, right? So now you're beginning to see this agenda trickle down into politics. You see. So bodies like the U.S. Council on Foreign Relations, the British Royal Institute for International Affairs, commonly known as Chatham House. What is Chatham House? Chatham House was what the secret society was referred to as after the passing of Cecil Rhodes. What is the goal of Chatham House? The goal of Chatham House was for the preservation and expansion of the British Empire. Okay, so Royal Institute of International Affairs is Chatham House. Cool. This man goes by the name of Lionel Curtis. It says leading the creation of the Royal Institute of International Affairs, that's the acronym, Royal Institute of International Affairs, also known as Chatham House, right? Remember, was Lionel Curtis, a veteran of South Africa's Boer War who became secretary to Sir Alfred Milner, Britain's High Commissioner in South Africa. Curtis had been one of the bright young proteges of Milner, known as Milner Kindergarten. So Alfred Milner began to run the Royal Institute, or Chatham House, right, after the death of Cecil Rhodes, right? So it says the creation of the Council on Foreign Relations, right? It says undaunted Colonel House, along with both British and American peace conference delegates, met in Paris' Majestic Hotel on May 30th, 1919, and resolved to form an Institute of International Affairs, with one branch in the United States and one in England. The English branch became the Royal Institute of International Affairs. This institute was to guide public opinion toward acceptance of one world government and globalism. Is that a true statement? Yes, because the Royal Institute of International Affairs is none other than Chatham House, right? The Chatham House was just another name that was used by the Rhodes Society, which goals and aims were once again the establishment, promotion, and development of a secret society. The true aim and objective whereof shall be the extension of British rule throughout the world. So that is a true statement right there. Right? The U.S. branch was incorporated on July 21st, 1921 as the Council on Foreign Relations. So, the Council on Foreign Relations is just the American branch of the British Royal Institute of International Affairs. The Royal Institute of International Affairs is also known as Chatham House. Chatham House was created by Cecil Rhodes. Cecil Rhodes created Chatham House for the extension of British rule throughout the world. So now we're getting closer to how what he initiated is affecting politics and policies in the United States. Because now we already know that the Council on Foreign Relations influence domestic politics within the United States. So when we see this pyramid of control, you're looking at on the top right there, the Council on Foreign Relations, right? We know how that was developed. On the bottom left there, you see the Royal Institute of International Affairs. The reason why we have an arrow going directly from Royal Institute of International Affairs to the Council on Foreign Relations is because of what I just said. The Council on Foreign Relations is just the American branch of the Royal Institute for International Affairs. All right, so that will be the construction of these two organizations, and we see the individuals who are responsible for the construction of these organizations. And this is before we get into how it affects us. We can get into specific names and we could get into the positions that these individuals have within the Council on Foreign Relations. And we can also get into how it's affecting us and how it is affecting our lives. Unfortunately, I'm going to end this stream. So this will be a part 1. And we get into part 2, going into this thing a little in depth. Maybe I got to create a little bit of more theatrics to make it more interesting. We're looking at the 11 people, 12 people in the building. So this is not for everybody, though. I understand that this is not for everybody. We can get into, because there's a lot more that we can actually show, but we're going to get into it at a later date, maybe sometime later in the week, where we're just going to break it down. We're going to get into the breakdown, and we're going to trickle it all the way down to see how it affects us directly, right? So, with that being said, we're going to get up out of here for now. I got to go over to Psychopathia channel. We having a fantasy draft over there. They're not going to shortchange me this year. They got me last year. So we're going to rock out later on this week. Later on this week, we'll be rocking out. All right, so we got Professor, lovely lady in the building, authentically. Erica is in the building. Trip D's is in the building. What's going on? Jesse Paris. Blue is in the building. Blackologist is in the building as well. Yanga, thanks for coming by. Afro-Asiatic is in the building. So what's the gynocracy takeover? All right. Chris MVP Harris was in the building. All right. So Blackologist was in the building. Z Sarah was in the building. Yeah, so we're going to get up out of here for now. Shout out to everybody. This has been another edition of your boy Solarmind. And we'll talk to you later. All right. Peace.